Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? I am just waiting for Praneet to join in. Hi. Okay. I hope I'm clear also, no? Not like a faded voice. Guys, I'm super excited about today's session. I hope you all watch it till the end. I think it's going to be very insightful. Okay. Thanks, Sanjana. Okay, we're just experiencing some issue in regards to Praneet joining in. Hello, Sneha. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Very well. How are you?
Good, good, good. So I think we both are audible. Thank you, Sneha. So should we just wait for 2-3 minutes for more people to
Yeah,
join in?
yeah, let's
Okay.
do that.
But yeah, for all those who have joined in, I really want to give this disclaimer. I think it's going to be a super insightful session. And I'm personally extremely fond of Praneet. Like, I feel her understanding of human relationships and dynamics is just so perfect. And that's the reason, I was also so excited myself for this session. So I hope you guys also, get the same takeaway that I feel I have, in my conversations with her.
I think everyone should know that we've probably been having these conversations since forever. I mean, that's
Yeah.
practically what we bond over.
Yeah, I
And our conversations have always been so insightful. I guess each of our conversations were like live session worthy.
know. That's
So let's see
true.
how this goes.
I think we really lost out on $1 million idea by not recording them live and putting them on YouTube or some podcast.
Yeah.
We'll just
Right.
wait for 1 or 2 more minutes and we will resume the start the session. Just give me a minute.
So are we taking questions from the audiences as well?
Yes, that's what I told them. But in case you're not able to fulfill the questions within the time limit that we have, which is like 9, 9, 10, then what we will do is maybe I can just send the questions to you and you can help me with the answers. And then, like we can just both post it on our pages collaboratively if that works.
Yeah, I think we can do something like that.
Cool. Okay, just give me a minute. Huh? My dogs are being a little troublesome. Just give me 1 minute.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Uh, let's see where all you guys have joined from. Which cities are you all from? Hi, Sanjana. Hi, Janvi.
So I think we should start now, Praneet.
Mhm.
Are we good to go?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So, guys, here I have with me Praneet Kaur. She is a licensed psychologist. She has been practicing it for the past 4 years now. And for 1 year, I think you also took some training under some licensed psychologists, right? If you could just help me word it properly for you.
Okay, so I'm not a licensed psychologist because for a
Okay.
licensed psychologist, you have to be a clinical psychologist. I'm a counseling psychologist.
Okay.
Yeah, but I am a certified psychologist. I was trained under a clinical psychologist for a year, and I've been practicing for 4 years as a relationship therapist and a trauma focused expert.
Wow. And also, just again, I'm putting it out there for all those who are joining. Praneet has been a very important factor in my personal journey. There was a time I called her years ago when I really wanted to transform a lot of aspects of my life. So, because her field of work follows a lot of ethics and boundaries. So while she could not help me very directly, but she was actually the one who actually routed me to the right people and helped me understand that, how understanding your own self, your own psychology can help you break a lot of barriers that you face on a day-to-day life. So let's get started now. So the first question I have, and guys, I'm going to just keep looking here all the time because I have my questions here from all your tarot card sessions. So just setting the context, a lot of things that I've actually noticed in my tarot card readings is that there are a lot of people who are stuck in a certain pattern or cycle when it comes to their relationships. And in regards to relationships, there are certain patterns and hence certain questions that keep on repeating in my tarot card readings. And the ultimate question of everybody just being that when will we find the right one or when will we find the right partner? So the whole session is going to be talking about that. This is for all of you who are joining us now. And I'll be now starting with my first question to understand that how do we start this journey of finding the right life partner. So the first thing that I would like to ask you, Praneet, which is something that is very, very common in all my tarot card readings, and like I think the most common questions, that a lot of people are going through no contact situations, you know, like where they are not in touch with the person. Maybe they had some fling or some relationship or some sort of a ship they had earlier, but now it could have been like a year, 2 years, 3 years. The person could have moved on, they could have been married, or they could have simply moved on. They could have ghosted them out, not been responsive now. But my clients also come to me, they are still stuck on the same person since all these years. So while they could be out going on dates and meeting new people, but at the back of the mind, they're just not able to forget this person. And a part of them is actually hoping, will they ever come back, or will they ever send a text message, or will we ever initiate a conversation again? So can you enlighten us on that, please?
Right. So, a lot of times we get this from a lot of our friends or people around that, he's gone or she's gone or they've moved on. It's time for you to move on too. And why are you still hell bent on them? Especially when you know that the person has started seeing someone else or they've really, really gone far, far away from you emotionally. But the thing that we don't understand is that when we say the word love addiction, it's actually quite real. So how does addiction work in terms of when we talk about being addicted to a substance? We know that certain neurochemicals in our brain act in a way where we keep wanting more of that substance, right? That we're hooked to. So that is exactly what happens when you feel hooked to a person as well. Dopamine secretes in your brain that keeps you motivated to talk to the person all the time. I mean, think about it. When you walk into a relationship for the first time, what is that phase like, the initial phase? You want that person all the time. You want to talk to them all the time. You want to see them all the time. Norepinephrine keeps you very focused on that person, another neurochemical. Then testosterone keeps you, you know what, right? So you are all consumed by that person. Each of your body chemical is telling you that I just want this person. And your neurochemicals work in this manner that you get fully very tunnel visioned on this person. And you see, when it comes to love, relationships, work, any other area of our life, we know that relationships take the most out of us. When we get into a relationship, so many people say, I'm not able to focus on work, I'm not able to focus on my family, or my friends are getting ignored. That is because there's so much happening with us on a neurochemical level that we think just giving ourselves this thought that it's time to move on is going to change our neurochemistry. That's not how you can regulate the chemicals in your brain, right? So it's very important to understand that it takes some getting used to the idea that the person is actually gone. And if we keep entertaining that idea, our brain or our neurocells do not get that chance or that space to actually make room for something else in our life, right? So real love addiction is very real.
Okay.
And as we go forward in our conversation today, we'll also talk about how the way that we know love or the way that we understand love also plays a very big role in wanting to have the person, especially the one that we can't have. There's a weird thrill in that. And we all know the thrill in forbidden love, right? Someone that we know we can't have, someone we don't, that doesn't want to have us back, is someone that we feel more drawn towards. So more
And
about
also, I
that.
think Bollywood has really, made this whole notion of ek tarfa pyar in a very romanticized, some sort of, like a different level. So I have a lot of people, who also actually believe in that who come to me. But just to follow up on the same thing that you said, I want to understand that many of these people who come to me who are not able to move on in a no contact situation, they would also talk about that they intuitively feel that, either they are exchanging notes with the person or the intuition is telling them that the person would come back. Now, frankly, as a reader, because I'm just supposed to read the cards, I tell them what the cards show. Most of the times it does say that okay, there is a very bleak chance or actually no chance, but then they are hell-bent convinced on the fact that their intuition is guiding them. So can you just enlighten us on that?
Okay. So this is something that I see with my clients also all the time. A lot of them say, like I know it's not meant to be, and the right thing to do is to let them go. But I'm getting all these signs from the universe, and like why would I then run into him if we were supposed to part ways, or why would I don't know happen to go to the same place on her birthday? So many things like that, right? So okay, so there's something called fantasy bond. It's actually a technical term in psychology, right? Which explains how so many of these bonds live only in our heads. And we keep finding evidences to make that more solidified in our head. So there's something called magical thinking. Okay. Now, magical thinking is something that we all have as children. When children think that how you must have seen how kids are like, oh, मैं ये घर घुमा दूंगा, मैं ये गायब कर दूंगा, or I'll move things around. Like kids are very magically,
I
uh,
had imaginary friends when I was growing up, like for a
right,
very short
right.
period, so I can totally believe what you're trying to say.
Right? Because as children, our fantasies are very active, right?
Yeah.
We do a lot of that in our own heads. And because we have so much stimulus, we have so much curiosity. So, a lot of fables are always getting built in our head. Now, in dysfunctional families, when parents are telling children things like, you know, because of you, your mother is getting sick today. Because of you, Papa keeps getting angry. See what you did, because of you, we're both fighting. See, because of you, a child, if the father's going somewhere, the child would be like, where is dad going? The mother would be like, oh, he's too mad at you, he's going. Even if it's not the case. Or if you do this, then he's going to get really sick. So many of my clients who are full into their adulthood, they're like, oh, if I do this, my father will have a heart attack. If I do this, my mother will die, so I can't. So this is a part of magical thinking where when we're in dysfunctional families and told such distorted things, we start growing up with this belief system that I alone, as a person, am responsible for bigger things happening out there. So somehow the whole world is attuned according to me, or somehow the people around me are doing things because of some silent, intention that I have, or like the universe is moving around in a way to benefit me. So this is all part of magical thinking, right? So magical thinking continues into our adulthood in this manner that we think that, oh, if I really want this person, we start looking for all those signs around us, and we start convincing ourselves the universe or like the nature is getting me ready for this.
One point of interjection, guys. I think this point is also extremely relevant for all those people who follow a lot of other tarot card pages and you just start feeling that maybe we could be on a twin flame journey. I will try and post a video of it later, but just because you're seeing a keyword like a twin flame journey, it does not necessarily mean that you are on one. So I don't think that many a times you need actually labels to your relationships of these kind, and you just need to understand that if the situation has truly moved on or not, which is what Praneet is trying to address today for us. Okay, thanks for that, Praneet. Okay, so now moving on to the next segment. So now we're going to be discussing a couple of questions that I keep on receiving from a lot of people who are single. And there's again certain questions that I keep receiving. The first one being that they are somehow constantly attracting the same kind of people who are either not in the alignment, with them. And even though they recognize this, they keep on saying that, yeah, my relationships have been very flawed and I've never been very happy in a relationship. But at the same time, they still keep on attracting the same kind. Like, even if they know that the next person that they would be asking a question for in regards to my tarot card reading, the cards would again show the same thing. So, what would you like to say to them?
So there's a whole science behind why we keep choosing similar kind of people in our life. So if it's happening with you, you are A, not alone. B, this is a pattern. This is a real pattern that we're all struggling with. And if you want to turn this around for yourself, you need to recognize what that pattern is for you. And the good news is we can all break our patterns. But for that, we need to first understand that, right? So let's understand what these patterns are. So these patterns are actually called our attachment styles. We all have ways of attaching to another person. There are, broadly speaking, four categories. And we all, so as I talk about these four categories, as we move on, I won't talk about all four just yet, but as we move on during the session, so, stick to the end, find out what all those four styles are, and see which one do you see yourself in. Once you know this is my attachment style, it would make all the sense to you that why do you keep choosing similar kind of people, and really what kind of people do you keep choosing. So what are attachment styles? So attachment styles is basically come out of this attachment theory that says that the way that you related to your parents in the childhood, the way that you attached to them, the kind of love that you received from them becomes the basis of your attachment as a child. Going forward, you choose partners in your life that fit the same mold for you. So, what does that really mean? So, if I grew up in a family where there was a lot of neglect from either both parents or one of the parents that I had a more tense relationship with, and I always felt as a child that I needed to do something to gather the attention of this parent, or I had to perform as a caretaker, or I had to be extraordinarily good at what I do, I had to be a high achiever, something I had to do in order to get my parent to love me. So as a child, you know that your idea of love was that I will always have to chase for love. So as a result, when you grow up, you choose partners who are also of the same sort, that they're never giving you attention, there is always neglect, and you have to perform in some way or the other to gauge their attention and to get them to love you. So
But
what
that
kind of
makes
things you
sense
perform?
because that is the only kind of love you have known, right? Like this is the way we
Yes.
get love. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
right. So even when now someone is coming who's giving you attention, that just won't make sense to you. You'll be either too overwhelmed by that, or you'd be like, oh, he's too clingy, or she's too needy, and things like that. Whatever. These are the justifications we give ourselves, but the truth is we're not familiar with that kind of love. So when it comes to love, the principle based on which we choose people is familiarity. The kind of love that I'm familiar with is the kind of love I'll keep seeing come my way. I'll keep seeing those kind of people come my way. So if it's a very interesting exercise that y'all can do, whoever is here right now, that you can actually go back, look at all the people that you had this crazy connection with, romantically speaking, whether or not you ended up in a relationship with them, but you felt like this crazy spark. And if you look at all of them on the surface, they'd be very different people maybe, but if you see in terms of this pull and push, they'd all be the same. Maybe all of them were equally like neglecting, or maybe all of them were very unpredictable. Like they would give you a lot of signs that I like you, I want to take this forward, but at the same time they would retreat every time it was the time to commit. So these are the various ways that we keep choosing similar kind of people, and unless we don't realize what is my style of attachment, like I said, four attachment styles, we'll talk about it as we go forward, we can't fix that. So yes, you are always choosing similar kind of people in your life because of attachment theory.
Okay, got it. Okay, now the second question that I have in regards to people who are single is that there are a couple of scenarios that I've noticed. First is that A, they are supremely comfortable and aware, and yet they still keep on questioning why am I single? So should they be taking chances? Should they explore? Like a part of them really knows that they want somebody in their life and they are comfortable with themselves also. They are aware at their own level, but at the same time, they really can't take chances.
Right. Okay, so first of all, these people need to understand that they have very contradicting ideas around love and relationship. On one side, they're like, oh, I'm very comfortable with myself. I don't need anyone. I'm so comfortable with my solitude. On the other side, they keep crying and cribbing and being like, why can't I find someone? Is there something wrong with me? Why is everyone getting very irritated and seeing people get married on Instagram or having like good lives with their partners, etc.? So, first of all, they need to point the discrepancy out and admit to themselves, first step, that I'm looking for a partner, that I have a need for love in my life right now. Because, it's not just you, it's all of us.
Yeah, correct.
Humans are the only species who are so hardwired for connection. You know, none of the other species are so inclined towards connection so much, right? So, this is a very natural need that we all have. to have someone with us, to have a companion, you know. Secondly, if they have this need, yes, hell yes, they definitely need to take a chance. And like you said, that they can be very aware of why are they single. They're very aware of what they're looking for in the person. Well, they may be aware, but they're clearly not aware enough to understand that if they're really wanting to be with a partner, why is that not happening? Right? It can't always, honestly, it can't always be about just not finding the right person. I get asked this question a lot as a relationship therapist, that how do I know this is the right person for me? And I always change the direction of this question, and I tell them that instead of asking what kind of person should I be looking for, ask what kind of dynamic am I looking for? You know, like you can't have a checklist about another person that should be like a businesswoman or a businessman, should be very polished and should be this tall or this short or this heavy or this lean and all that, right? It can't just be. But more like, how do you want the dynamic to be? Do you want, I want the person to respect me. I want there to be room for both of us to put our opinions forth. Um, I want there to be a lot of trust, that I'm not walking on eggshells all the time around the person. Because when you will have this for the dynamic, this checklist for the dynamic, when you actually engage with someone, you'll see, am I feeling like I'm walking on the eggshells, right? Because this person can meet all the tall, dark, handsome checklist, right? But you're still not feeling safe. You know, you're like, oh, this is everything that I wanted. And so if we keep looking at these surface level things, no, someone would come along who'd match or tick all of those boxes, and we get super excited. Oh my god, this is everything I wanted. This has to work. So even if the dynamic is not healthy, even if you're not feeling heard, seen, etc., after that, you'll still keep at it, or you'll keep telling yourself nobody is making the checklist, so it's just not for me. We need to understand that there is nothing more difficult in the entire world than another human being. Right? Relationships are very complex. So maybe for another question, I'll be like, oh, don't always compromise. But for this question, I'll also say that we need to be willing to understand that when two people come together, there is a lot of being flexible with how we want things to be. So if you're really looking at being with a partner and enjoying companionship in life, it's going to require not just for the other person to meet our needs, but us also willing to maneuver things in our life to meet their needs.
Yeah. Just one point of interjection again. You know, this is also, I think, what a lot of healers and tarot card readers keep on talking when they say that work on yourself. So the work on yourself aspect is also getting more aware about yourself. And suppose if you want a certain person in your life with a certain dynamic, then you should also be somebody who's capable of giving that dynamic back. So this is exactly what is also meant by work on yourself. That once you have that understanding within yourself with acceptance, and it's kind of manifested in you, that's when, you know, you can expect like it to happen in 3D or in like real life around you.
Absolutely. Just one thing that I want to add to that, that's such a good point. I feel like the whole healing culture or the whole self heal or self love culture is becoming very ultra independent, you know, that, oh, be your own woman, especially for women. I feel, be your own woman and you don't need anyone to complete you. Sure, you don't. But the thing is that when we're talking about a relationship, it's a two-person system. And for a two-person system to work, you have to think like that also. That a little bit I come towards you, a little bit you come towards me, and that is how it works. I can't keep being a raging feminist and keep standing here and be like, I'm not making any compromises, and you come towards me. Or vice versa, for men, they can't be like the typical patriarchal thought process that, you know, you're the woman, you have to do things for me. So we all need to meet each other. I mean, obviously speaking for heterosexual couples, but whoever is playing this role, even in homosexual couples.
Yeah, correct. Makes absolute sense. Okay, another question that I have in regards to single, which is something that I get like, I think the most in regards to people who are single, especially since a long while, that they start projecting their wishes and desires onto a person that they find, and they kind of cling to them. So whatever they feel that, okay, a relationship should be for me, even if they have found somebody who doesn't need that, they somehow manage to convince themselves into believing that no, you know, like this is the person for me. Itna nahi to utna to karta hai, itna nahi to aise to karti hai. So they kind of also start worshipping them, if I can put it like that. So what is it that you would like to add on to this?
Yeah. So I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are listening to us right now going like, yeah, that's me. So I guess at this point I'll actually introduce the first attachment style. Like I said, there are four attachment styles. So let's talk about the first one. That's called the anxious attachment style. Okay. So anxious attachment style is that kind of an attachment where the person is always looking at attachment from a place of a lot of fear of losing the person. For you, love means this person will leave me. So love comes with a lot of fear. So for people who are anxiously attached, they're basically people who grew up with a lot of rejection and abandonment from their parent figure. Something as basic as their physical needs not being met, like they were hungry for the longest time and the parents couldn't pay attention, or the parents were physically away for a really long time and they couldn't cater to the needs of the child, or that when the child grew up and they had something to say, they had their achievements to share, parents were just very dismissive, or the parents had like complete attention on the other sibling or something else that was going on in their life. So there's a lot of neglect in your childhood. The kind of love that you get familiarized with is that whoever I will get attached to, they will leave me or they will run away, right? So, whenever these people who are anxiously attached, the moment they will get into a relationship, they will cling on to that person. And they'd be like, no matter what, whatever this person is, like whoever this person is, whether or not all my needs are getting fulfilled, I can't let you go. The whole point is, I can't lose you. मतलब ये question भी नहीं है that do I even want you? Are you even someone who fulfills my need? And are you even the kind of person I wanted to be with? None of that matters. Now that you're here, I can't lose you.
You know, one thing I would like to add here, thanks so much for giving us this particular term and helping us and understand that yes, these are actually attachment styles, and like you said in the starting, that they can be broken. Because I feel that many such people are simply labeled as desperate, like, you know,
Yeah.
desperate in terms of their friends or other people. And the moment you have a labeling of that kind, you don't really know how to undo that, like how to
Yeah.
not become desperate, because then you start questioning that do I not deserve love, and if I found somebody and if I want to keep them in my life, is it not okay to do things for them? So yeah, I think like this is also going to be a very important point for all those who are listening to understand that it's not desperation, it's just that you have an anxious attachment style. Yeah, go on, Praneet.
Yes, absolutely. Such a good point. So, yes, anxious people, anxiously attached people have a lot of shame around I'm too needy, I'm too desperate, I can't let people go. I wish I could be like him. He cares so less. I wish I could be like her, not so attached. And we keep glorifying these people who can be not so attached, which is, by the way, another attachment style which we'll talk
Yeah,
about. So, a couple of things about low, low
lost you.
battery.
Yeah,
I'm just going to put
no problem.
my phone on charging. Yes. Okay, why is this not working? Okay, one second. So, couple of characteristics of anxiously attached people. They will always think that their partner is better than them. They will always worship them. They will always put them on pedestal. And whenever something will go wrong in the relationship, they'll be like, "मैंने क्या गलत किया है? I went wrong somewhere. I didn't do something right." Okay. So one of the biggest traits of anxiously attached people. Then these people are always ready to say sorry first. Because like I said, that their biggest threat is this person will leave me. I can't have you leaving me. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep you in my life. So these people will betray themselves. They will allow the partner walk all over them. Why? Because they're reliving the fear from the childhood that I will be rejected and abandoned yet again. I'm not worthy of love. People will not come my way. I will not be relished and celebrated in life. So whoever has finally come into my life, let me just hold on to them, because I'm not getting this a lot in my life either way. So that is what keeps you hooked to the person. Also, going back to the very first question, that even after the person has gone way, away from us, really, really far away from us, why do we still keep waiting? Because we keep thinking that, I don't have any chance at love. So that person was there, if I can do something to go back to them. And instead of empathizing with our pain and our fear of rejection and abandonment, we keep shaming ourselves for all these
Yeah.
behaviors. And the world also
So
keeps shaming
sad.
us. Yeah,
It's so sad, but it's such a great news to also know that we can, I mean, we can break this pattern. But yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Let's talk about how to break these patterns also towards the end of the session.
Sure, sure. Okay, so the next question that I have is that some single people would recognize everything when they are in a relationship. Like they would recognize that, okay, like this person is not for me. And they maybe have broken away from the relationship also, okay? But they have external factors like the same friend circle or some other or the other things like same family friends, or we hang out in like the same spots, etc. So while they have broken up, they are still not able to break away from them completely or put a complete end to it. So what happens is they keep on going back and forth. And then it's also gets confusing because technically they are single. So while they could also be going out and meeting more people, but then it's the main person that they're again going back and forth with, their ex. So anything you would like to tell to them?
Yeah, I think one of the very big factors that moving away from a partner or breaking up or separating is so hard is because once you've dated someone, you start sharing so many different areas of your life with them. Sometimes you're sharing a home with them, sometimes you're sharing a child with them, sometimes you're sharing friend circles, workplaces, work friends, uh, arts, talents, so many things maybe that you were collaborating on, maybe you were business partners. So, very important to make a very mindful decision about these overlaps of your life once you've broken up. Are you in a place where you can handle a little bit of overlapping and you can still continue to have common friends and common circles? Or you
One
can't
kind
handle
of question, this overlapping would also depend on the other person, right? Like if the other person is also mature enough to be able to have a healthy dynamic in this overlapping, or is
Yeah,
it
but
completely the person's responsibility?
no, absolutely. It's two people. But right now, let's talk about just this one person who's attending our
Okay,
life.
sure.
Okay? Because if you can't speak to your partner and if they are mature or not mature, you have no control over that. But you have
Okay,
100% control over what you choose to do, right?
yeah, makes sense.
So,
Perfect.
so if I know that I'm not in that space where I can still continue to see my partner or speak to his friends or speak to her friends or look at their work or go to the same places that I know she goes to, then I need to make a conscious decision for myself that am I still going to the same places or the same people just because I want to keep a track? I want to know their whereabouts, or
Yeah,
because I can really have this be a part of my life. I'm good. Very conscious decision needs to be made on that. And maybe I think it's always a good idea to give yourself a little bit of break. Because another thing is that it's not just about drawing a boundary or forgetting the person, but when you break away from a person, you need to start establishing a whole new life, because like I said, there's so many things that you start sharing with this person that when you lose a partner, you lose kind of like a big part of your life, of yourself, of your body, because our partner is like an extended part of ourselves.
correct.
So it's like losing a limb. So when you've lost a limb, there is extra care that you need to take care of yourself. Extra care that you need to give yourself. So you need to be focusing on your life all the more. You need to see what are the areas of my life that can just be about me. What are the areas of life that can help me heal? So when you're still sharing and over those areas of life are still overlapping with your ex, then you know that you're constantly going back to that lost limb instead of focusing on, okay, this is all me. This helps me heal.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. But that also sounds a lot of work. I think that's what a lot of people also must be wondering. But I think the good thing in this is to know that yes, this can be worked upon and this can be like changed definitely. So now we are going to be moving into the next part, which is the questions that I get from people who are in relationships and who are currently dating somebody. So the first question is a pattern that I see quite regularly, that is that they have somewhat of a codependent relationship. And let me simplify this, like they need each other, it's like a habit, but it does not feel that it contributes to their personal growth. So they don't necessarily feel happy, but at the same time they don't know if they should call it off or not. So this is basically a relationship which has a mix of good days and bad days. But at the same time, the person is coming and asking me that, like, is it good? I want to break up, because I always feel if the good days are going to be more, then you mostly don't have such questions. But if a thought in your mind is making you question that I don't want to be with them, then clearly something is wrong outside of tarot also. So while they're going through this, what tends to also happen is they only keep on telling themselves, oh, I don't think my partner is that bad. No, I think I also have issues in me. So in their mind only, they keep on going back and forth on the fact that no, there are good days also, but then there are bad days. Oh, even if there are bad days, but then there are good days also. So what would you like to tell them, those who are already in a current relationship like that? Basically not fully satisfied.
Yeah. I've always seen that when people are in such relationships, on the days that they're not really bonding with their partner, basically what you're calling the bad days, the thought of breaking up with them seems just right. And they're very motivated to do that, talking to all their friends about it. Keep us, this is it. I'm just going to call it quits and it's just not working for us. And then bam, the good days come back and you're like, it's not that bad. Do I have to be so dramatic about it? Maybe I'm just blowing this out of proportion. It's not half as bad as I thought it was. The partner would do something nice, or you'll end up going on a nice date, or you'll have a nice intimate night. You'll have good sex, and you'd be like, maybe not that bad. So big part of I'll answer this question in two parts. One, how to know if it's the right decision. Two, when you know how to do it. So one is how to know. So there's something called instinct, gut feeling. And I feel that in our industry, it's something that's just not talked about enough. Because getting in touch with your gut feeling and your instinct is solution to more than half of the problems
Yeah, it's
that
so
we're
important.
struggling with today, right?
Yeah.
So what is really our gut feeling? It's not the part of our head that's constantly looking at the surrounding, scanning threats. Not that. It is also not the part that sits and makes a pro con list in the head. It's not the thinking part either. So, gut feeling or instinct is not in our head, it's in our body. It's a sensation. It's just, how we go to some places and we're like, there's something weird about this place. It's shady, and we can't tell what it is. And it's really nothing. If you look at it, you can't really point out. It's just this feeling.
Yeah.
You talk to someone and you're like, something about that person. You can't concretely pinpoint what
Yeah.
that is.
Just have
So
those
when
weird bouts of intuition and you just know that I know something in
exactly,
my gut, but even if it's
yeah,
like not making sense in this particular scenario, but I know it.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Now, couple of questions back, we were talking about magical thinking. How do we differentiate between instinct and magical thinking? You see, when we're grown up in households where we were crying for something and our parents were like, oh, come on, you're not even feeling that bad, stop this. Or we came back home and we were telling our parents, today this happened. And children tend to make a lot of stories. Parents are like, no, that's not true. Or if you're telling them that, this person hit me or I felt really bad, they'd be like, you must have also done something, you know. So basically, as children, when parents kept denying your reality or they kept dismissing your emotions, or if you were crying, they were like, it's not even that big a deal. Is baat pe kaun rota hai? So making you feel like, oh, is my emotion not okay? Is this way out of proportion? So that's when you start doubting yourself that whatever I'm thinking, is this not okay? You
Yeah.
keep second guessing yourself at every point. So if you come from a household like that, be extra cautious that you will find yourself doubting every feeling that comes from within. Okay? So it's
And
very
I think this is
important.
especially relevant for people who have grown up in households where the parenting was more of the 90s or the early 2000s style. I mean, back then the parenting was definitely a lot different, and you being negated for your feelings as a child or something was just considered normal. I think they did not even see anything problematic or
Yeah,
questionable with that.
yeah, I think it's very little to do with what time zone that you were from, but more to do with simply awareness.
Hmm.
You know, even in 90s or 2000s, people were aware. Maybe they're more aware today, maybe not. I don't know. We never have the right statistics, right? So, anyway, so someone also asked here how to differentiate between intuition and overthinking, right? So, wonderful question. I think this can be addressed right here. So, again, understanding that intuition are not our thoughts. Again, magical thinking, when we do, we're like, oh, maybe this is meant to be. All of these are your thoughts. You're connecting the dots. You're making sense of things. You're collecting all the evidences that are telling you this person is meant to be. Or if a relationship has to work out, you will lie down in your bed all night not sleeping, and you'll keep like going back to instances. None of that is intuition. That's in your head. Know that intuition is in your body,
Yeah.
in the sense that you just get this sense that it's not working, it's just not happening, and I'm forcing this. So as and how we get more attached to our body, we get more in touch with our body. I think that's a whole other live session,
Yeah.
but we'll surely do that as well. You get in touch more with your intuitions, you know, your instinct, your gut feeling. And if your gut feeling is telling you it's not working out, it's not meant to be, then it's not meant to be. If you're thinking it, you're right. If you're feeling it, you're right. Now, how to do this? When we know that there are good times and bad times, then how to do it? So, understanding that if I'm letting go of a relationship, the thing is, we've really built our tolerance and we have no limits. Like, our tolerance is like skyrocket. Okay. We keep tolerating. We feel like things really, really need to go wrong. Something very drastic has to happen for me to let go of a partner. Until
Yeah.
then, compromise, sacrifice, talk,
Yeah.
whatever. All these things we keep telling ourselves.
Adjust करो.
Nobody's perfect, you know.
Yeah.
You
And
know, I
adjust
keep
करो. Adjust थोड़ा तो करना पड़ता है.
exactly. Oh God, yeah, absolutely that one, right?
Hmm.
But you see that when you lose a relationship, we need to understand and normalize this, that when we lose a relationship, we also lose the good parts and we grieve about them. Of course, there are good parts. That's why you stayed with the person. Of course, there are fun nights and there are some things that were really good. So it doesn't have to be all bad for you to break up with them. You just need to look at what are your non-negotiables. Like, this is just not going to work for me. So it's not so much about how many good times or how many bad times. It's really about what are your negotiables and not negotiables. This is something we can both talk about and figure out. But if you, let's say, disrespect me or hit me or don't let me work or keep gaslighting me or keep dismissing my emotions, I don't have bandwidth for that.
Makes sense. Okay. One thing I would just like to add on here for anybody who's thinking about how do we at least start getting more in touch with our body. So apart from everything else that Praneet will also tell us and multiple other tools that might be on the tarot and the spirituality side, a very basic thing you can simply do is you can simply observe your. So get into a habit of not manipulating, not playing around with your breath, but simply closing your eyes and just observing where is the breath coming from, where is it going, where is it hitting in the nose. Do it for a couple of minutes and then just observe your body. That after that, is there any sensation in your body or not? But like she is also mentioning, everything does require your personal work. So even if you want to get in touch with your intuitive side and start differentiating between intuition, overthinking, the magical thinking, then you do need to sit. The basic that you can do is at least start off with your breath. Cool. So I'll just move on to the second question now. In regards to, again, people in relationship, that when it comes to marriages, what I've noticed is that everything is going fine. Now, I just for you to know, Praneet, my tarot card shows a lot of things that maybe the people also don't know. So sometimes I would actually question them that, I can see that your relationship is not right. But sometimes they would just like, no, I'm very happy there, and maybe we can just move to my other questions. Even if I'm doing the tarot card reading for both a husband and wife separately. So they both admit that they are happy, and both of them, the cards are showing that no, something is wrong. And then suddenly, few months or a year or something down the line, they would come back and they would say that either of the partner left, or they would find out that either of the partner was cheating since a very long while. So, what do you have to say about this? Why do you think this happened? Because I think what I've noticed in regards to this is there is a lot of closure in other aspects that don't necessarily get met. They can never fathom that, oh, in my head everything was just going fine. Then what just happened?
Right. You know, someone just commented here that after listening to this conversation, I feel like I'm very messed up.
Yeah, that's
Right?
Janvi.
So let's actually take it up from this comment
Sure.
only.
Sure.
The thing is that when we listen to a truth in our relationship, when we call a spade, when we tell ourselves it's not working, I'm not happy, the reality is going to hit hard, and it's not the truth that we want to hear. It's not the narrative we want to live with. It's not fun, right? So we'd rather stay in darkness than to tell ourselves the truth and act on it. You know, like what she mentioned here that she's feeling right now, that's exactly what we feel when we sit with the truth. Now, so many of us want to run away when truth comes in front of us. And so many of us look at it as an opportunity to live a more fulfilled life, even if right now it entails grief, loss, letting go
Correct.
of a person.
Correct.
So I guess it's just what we do to shut down parts of ourselves so that we can continue to live with a lie. When a relationship is not working, everyone knows it's not working, but it takes some strength and courage to admit that to ourselves.
This is very interesting because right after when, and there are a couple of couples who came to me like that, and I read for both the husband and the wife. And then once they had things out in the open that it's not working, that's when they actually, were a little bit more explicit about the things that they never felt were very proper. And yeah, then sometimes, and I just question as a tarot card reader, ki, "Arey yaar, main to keh hi rahi thi." Like, because you start feeling doubtful that, oh, are the cards not saying the right thing? But okay, so yes, you need to absorb the truth, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, another thing is that I think sometimes it's only when we get out of an equation is when we know that it was that bad. When we're in it, when we're evolved, because you see, the thing is that relationships don't turn unhealthy overnight. It's very
Yeah.
gradual, and we keep making little adjustments here and there. It's so gradual, it happens so swiftly, so smoothly, that we don't know that, oh my god, over the period of time I was suffering so much. Another thing is that we don't have good references. If my partner is not listening to me, if I'm feeling unheard, I feel like, yeah, but then, he or she is doing 10 other things. That's also fine. No, people don't get that only. But when you get out of the relationship, you realize I had to put in so much hard work just to make them listen to me, or I had to explain myself so much just to feel seen or heard.
Right.
So because I don't have healthy relationships around me for me to be like, okay, this is how a relationship should be. This is what it looks like. So I keep putting up with that. So a mix
Right.
of all these reasons.
Okay, okay. Okay, so thanks for that, Praneet. Now we will move to the next part, which is for all those people who are either divorced or they have lost a partner and the partner is no more, here on the in this world. So the first question that I have is that here I've encountered mostly cases where again people are stuck in not so gratifying relationships where the person is acting hot and cold or they run away from the responsibility of marriage and commitment. And what I actually want to question here is again, like, they were maybe already in a relationship that was not a very happy relationship. They took a divorce. And now, when they're out exploring somebody else as being their potential partner, yet again, somehow they managed to find a partner who's hot and cold or not giving them the commitment. So, is there anything you would like to say here?
Absolutely. So again, let's bring in the attachment styles back, right? Uh, you knew the kind of partner you were with. You knew there was a lot of pull and push. You still kept staying with them. It didn't work out. You went out looking for another partner, found a new partner, same pattern again. Again, similar kind of pull and push, if not exactly the same. Now you don't know what to do about it. You're like, why does this keep happening to me? Are there no good men or women in the world? Why do I keep running into all the bad people? Where are all the nice people? Then we go to some पंडित जी एंड वेर लाइक कि कब मुझे अच्छा कोई पार्टनर मिलेगा, मेरी लाइफ कब सॉर्ट होगी. लाइक आई एम श्योर आपको भी लोग पूछते होंगे, राइट? कि प्लीज टेल मी व्हाट माय फ्यूचर लुक्स लाइक एंड व्हेन विल the dasha of the stars or whatever will change for me, right?
Correct.
So it'll change when you recognize your attachment pattern and the person you feel drawn towards, what is their attachment style. So this hot and cold thing or this pull and push when someone does, that is actually called the second one, the avoidant attachment style. Okay. Right?
The person or their partner?
Their partner.
Okay.
The person who is doing pull and push. So it's either avoidant or disorganized attachment style. But let's talk about avoidant first.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so avoidant partners, people who are avoidantly attached, what are they like? So these are the people who either had very suffocating parenting, where one of the parents was like a helicopter parent, always telling them what to do, what not to do. And they were like, they felt very suffocated and very smothered by their love. Or either this, or they had no one looking at them whatsoever. They had to manage everything on their own. They were getting bullied as children. They had tons of things to take care of. They were getting sexually abused and no one to turn to in their caregivers. So these people had absolute neglect and they had to deal with big problems of life all on their own. So these avoidants, what they do is, what are their traits? So these are the people who will be emotionally very unavailable. They will always be far, far away from you. The moment conflict would come, they would never communicate. They would always like shut themselves in their shell. And they tend to isolate themselves quite a bit in order to make sense of their life or resolve. They will stop talking, they will give you silent treatment. You would never know what's going on in their mind. You'd keep asking them things like, why don't you tell me what's up? Why don't you talk about stuff? And you'd have to put in a lot of effort to get things out of them. So, like anxiously attached people, for them, the fear is if I get attached to someone, they will leave me. For avoidantly attached people, the fear is if I get attached to someone, they will smother me or my independence will get
Oh,
lost. Okay. So, for the anxiously attached, I fear distance. And for avoidantly attached, I fear closeness. Now, you know that why when both of them come together, there's a
yeah,
classic pull and push that happens.
yeah.
And I'll tell you an interesting fact about these, that anxiously attached people always feel a great spark with avoidantly attached people because they replicate each other's parents.
One thing also to interject here, could this also be for people who, this is just an observation, a lot of the girls specifically like changing men. कि हम बदल देंगे, like we will make them better, वो प्यार नहीं करना जानता, हम करना सिखा देंगे. It's slightly Bollywoodish also, but yeah, that's what it is. So does that fall into this dynamic that you're just explaining us?
So, when I was telling you that anxiously attached people had to perform a role to get love of their parents.
Oh, yes.
So, what is that role? There are certain archetypes. You are either playing the role of a caregiver, or you're playing the role of a rescuer, or you're playing the role of a fixer. So, since childhood, you had one troubled parent or one parent who was emotionally not very regulated, and you practically brought them up. So, now to do that with a man is no bigger deal for you, and it doesn't just happen with women. It's not just the women who are in the fixer or the rescuer or caregiver roles, it's also men. But yes,
Yeah.
I see what you mean by and large women, right? So fixing the other person and molding them in a way that, because again, understanding कि उनका belief system क्या है, that I'm not deserving of love. I will not be loved as is. So I need to make something very significant happen in your life for you to also find me significant and never let me go. So if I'm bringing about big changes in your life, then you will never leave me. So doing that, I completely lose myself. I'm always looking at this person. I did so much for you. What are you doing for me? How are you there for me? And at some point you'll get so tired. You'll be like, I keep giving and I don't get reciprocated, etc. So it's a whole cycle and it keeps working like this. So when you recognize that the partners I'm feeling attracted to are all avoidants and I am an anxiously attached person, then you might want to understand that dynamic and recognize every time that you're speaking to someone and this person is hot and cold. That in the beginning, until there's no closeness, no intimacy, they're very good with you. But the moment intimacy happens, or you know that now is the time to commit, the person starts running away. So maybe again, biologically and psychologically and in terms of nervous system, you'll feel very drawn towards this person, but maybe that's a good window to take a step back and be like, same pattern again, I know how this is going to end, I know what's happening next, so do I want to get involved here? I know it's really, really hard, but also one more thing that I want to add here is the one thing that you can do is that you keep talking to a lot of people, you keep exploring, keep putting yourself out there, explore what all kinds of people are there and create better references for yourself. You start speaking to one person, you get attached, they're avoidant, they're going to run away. You bring all the more attention to them and be like, I'm just going to fix him and I'm going to make him love me. And he was this Casanova all his life and now he's going to turn around and be this man. And instead, when you know that, okay, this doesn't seem to be going very well, let me also start seeing other people. If I'm on a lookout for a partner, let me also talk to other people. Let me also see that I can actually be treated better. Yeah. And really put yourself in places where you can find different kinds of people.
Yeah, this honestly takes me to a case that I noticed when I moved newly to Mumbai. So I was sharing a flat with a couple of people. So one of our flatmates had a great relationship, like a very good marriage. Again, they may have their own problems in the room, but like that's what we saw of it. And my other flatmate would often, she was just coming from a space that, where she felt that, you can never find the kind of love that they have. But actually, because she noticed that, okay, like a partnership can be of this kind also, she started, questioning things more, and she started at least making an attempt to choose like better people and not go for the people,
Oh my
because,
God.
she saw it as a reference point that this happens. So, like, I don't need to usually go for what I go for. So, okay, that
Yeah.
does make sense
I'm
very
so
practically.
glad you I'm so glad you brought that up because we keep underestimating this. Having a good reference in your life can make so much of a difference. So if you have a healthy relationship,
Yeah.
if you know someone who has a healthy relationship, if you know a show that is portraying a healthy relationship or a
Yeah.
movie, then go to these resources. Like there's this show called This Is Us, which
Okay.
I strongly recommend to everyone
Okay.
because I
Okay.
think they just show like beautiful relationship scenarios, and I feel it can really act as a very intense show also emotionally. But
Interesting.
they're going for therapy, 3-4 couples parallel stories. So yeah, that can definitely act as a reference
Wow,
point.
very interesting. When you mentioned show, I literally got goosebumps because I remember a lot of people actually sometimes asking me about this web series called Little Things. So they would be like, "ऐसे होता है क्या? कोई ऐसे बात करता है क्या?" Because in India, like the concept of two couples kind of living it alone and making it work. I don't know if you've watched it or not,
I
but
haven't.
okay, I think you should. I think you would enjoy it because they also know how to communicate in their relationship. And it's very realistic, in which, they would also show frustrations where maybe one person is not getting the other person, but in the end, they try to understand. So a lot of people would actually even ask me, कि ऐसे होता थोड़ी है, like how unreal is this? So I think, like you rightly said, that sometimes having a good reference point, even it's in form of a show, I think it makes all the difference. That you have to at least do
Absolutely.
the job on yourself and ensure that no, yes, something like this exists.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, now the second question that I have from people that I've mostly gotten in my readings who are divorced or they have lost their partner, specifically for people who have lost their partner and the partner is no more in the world, that I sense a very deep grief in their cards. Like, and along with that, they can also have a lot of personal issues, because I think, especially if you are in a marriage that you've called off, like you got divorced, or if you lost your partner, apart from grief, there could also be a lot of personal issues that are now coming to surface that makes it difficult for you to also fall in love again. So you could also have difficulty in being fully emotionally available. Uh, so they also sometimes come as slightly closed off. So what would you like to tell them? Because again, these are still the people who are going on dating apps and trying to find somebody. So, like the work on finding the partner is not stopping, but at the same time, at a shadow level or a very deep introspect level, like they are not ready, or they are still grieving, or there are still things that are being a roadblock.
Yeah. Okay, so here I'd say that if you feel this pull and push from your own side while putting yourself out there, that you want to do it but you don't feel quite ready also, it means that your grief work is pending, that you've not grieved for a partner enough. That said, these things don't happen in, like, the lines are not so clear, okay? Because that is such as life. It's very complex. So it's not that, oh, let me first sit at home, cry for 2 months, then I will download the dating app.
Yeah.
Then for 1 month, I'll just talk to men or women. Then I'll put myself out there. Then in the fourth month, I will have sex. And then in the fifth month, I will get married. So many people have these timelines actually. So very important to understand that all of this, like the stages of grief that we keep talking about, a lot of psychology students I see here, we think that also this is the stages, this is how it works. It doesn't work like that. It's very complex, it's very arbitrary, it's very chaotic.
And I
So
think you
it's
can't put a
okay.
time to it also. Like,
You
help me
just
understand,
can't.
you can't. Like, some people really take a lot of time, and maybe that's genuinely what they need.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
So first of all, understanding that it's okay if you want to speak to people. It's okay if you want to put yourself out there, and if it's helping you in some manner. But also knowing that while I'm trying to do this, I don't think I'm fully ready, and just cutting yourself some slack. I guess one thing that helps a lot when you're grieving is just taking each day as it comes. Today, you really want to sit home, just like sit in your blanket and watch a show and just like eat out of an ice cream tub kind of day, then so be that. But if today you feel like dressing up and going out and partying, then do that. Today you feel like talking to new men or women, you do that. Today you feel like just sitting back with the memories of your partner, your ex-partner, looking at their pictures, wanting to call them, you sit with all of that. Sitting with the feeling and acting on that feeling, two different things, just a side note.
Yeah, good
But
you mentioned it.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, grief really is about just letting it come how it goes. And one thing that helps tremendously is having a good support system. Someone to talk to. This could be a friend, family members, a therapist, but I think even outside of a therapist, just people who you can really open your heart to. Sometimes you can drink over your grief, sometimes you can laugh over your grief, sometimes you can cry over your grief, someone that you can do it all
Yeah.
with, right? And I know that at this point, people who don't have that kind of support in their life would be like, okay, I don't even have that. But I tell you that instead of like, feeling bad about yourself for it, actively look for it, like
Yeah.
really. Maybe join support groups, talk to people who you know are going through similar kind of stuff. On that note, uh, subtle advertisement, I am starting a
So of course.
group therapy program for people who've had relationships that didn't work. So it's going to start most probably by the end of this month, the registrations. So yeah, but this
And
almost
guys, I
basically,
am fully vouching for this and I fully approve of this. Trust me, I feel that if you go to her, she's the best person to go to in regards to understanding yourself. And like she truly says, she is actually somebody like who has a lot of experience and a lot of understanding of relationships. So yes, like if you're looking for a support group, I would totally say that go to Praneet's support group.
how kind of you. Thank you, Kamya.
But that's true.
Right. So, and there are a lot of spaces like this out there. You just need to be looking in the right direction. So many Instagram therapists doing amazing work, so many of them running support groups, and you can totally find your tribe.
Yeah.
Make a little extra effort and do things that you've not usually done
Yeah.
to find your people for yourself, because that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And that is true. And I think in today's age and time, there's no dearth also of, finding such people because the moment you put your effort out, you actually realize, oh, there are other people also, like who are happy to connect with you. So it's all about just
Yeah.
taking that first step, like taking that initiative. Once you do, I think things just start putting themselves together for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one thing here. People with social anxiety, they must be like, oh, मैं तो नए लोगों से बात ही नहीं कर सकती, so this is
Correct.
not for me. So very important to know that whatever your strengths is, you find people that way. If you feel like you're not the person who can walk up to a stranger and talk to them sitting in a cafe, you don't have to be that person to make new friends. If you're a reader, maybe find book clubs. If
Correct.
you're someone who's into sports, go find people there. So whatever your interests are, whatever your hobbies are, and if you don't have any or you feel like you've not explored that, then start. Maybe now is the time.
Yeah.
Because this is a big part of healing yourself and recovering from a relationship that didn't work or a partner that you've lost, that you start finding parts of yourself that you never knew you had.
Thanks so much for mentioning about the social anxiety. I personally have few people in my network who genuinely struggle even with like people whom they call their friends on their worst days. So I think yeah, you're absolutely right that you need to just find what works for you,
Yeah.
irrespective of whatever condition like you may have or you may be going through. Interesting. Okay, so now the next part that we move to is advice for the young kids who are in their early 20s. So, the first question that I usually get from anybody who's in their early 20s, kind of in their college or like post college phase, in between that, school also for that matter, that many a times they're stuck in a relationship. They know it's not right, but they are just unable to break it off. So, they know that it's not right, but they're also like, we can't like call it off. Like, they just can't break it up, but yeah, they are always constantly complaining about it, spending money on tarot card readers and like ab bata do kab hoga, will he change, will she change? So what is your advice to them?
Okay. Before I answer that question, Kamya, if I'm not wrong, the live session ends in 1 hour, right? On
Yeah,
its own.
so yes, correct. No, it doesn't
Are we
end
pro-
on its own. So I do
yeah,
have like, if you don't have a hard stop, then I have like a half an
I
hour
do
more
have a
that you can invest. Okay,
Yeah, we
cool.
can do that.
Then make
But are
it
you
fun.
sure? Because long, long back when I used to go live, this used to happen.
No, no. Now
Okay.
it happens on Zoom. It ends in 40 minutes.
Yeah, okay. Right. Right. So, for the young people who are struggling with not being able to let go of a partner even when they know it's not working out. So, again, back to attachment styles. If this is happening to you, we know that you're anxiously attached, you're very scared of losing this person. Whether or not they're good, you just don't want to be single, right? I'll also talk a little bit about the environment that you're in, okay? Because when you're young, the approval of your peers matter the most to you, right? Because a big part of your identity is the people that you hang out with. So if you are with someone who, if you are with a group of people who are not okay with, uh, who don't find it very cool that you don't have a partner, you know, or who are constantly talking or glorifying being in a relationship or keep talking about how they got it all together, that can also add a lot of pressure for you to stay in the relationship to kind of uphold the cool person tag, right? So a lot of people, so I work with only young adults. I don't usually work with these people, but I'll tell you what, that these people who were basically adolescents, so my clients who are well in their 30s, 40s now, when they were in their adolescence, they had a life like this. They wanted to fit into the cool person category and they couldn't. They were the most uncool people. So was I. So I could totally know the pain, right? So, like, doing so many things, people pleasing and trying to be, putting on a lip gloss or whatever you can do, you know, to be in
To
the
fit,
cool person group.
to fit in.
Yeah, to fit in, right? And well, one of the biggest reasons is, again, you're coming from a dysfunctional family. You don't have a grounded sense of self. You don't feel that you are okay with who you are, just okay who you are. You had to perform to be accepted. So that's what you're doing. Even in your peer group, you're trying to perform to be accepted. So the line of the direction in which that you need to work on yourself is about how do you feel about yourself outside of this peer group? You know, how cool or uncool do you find yourself, and how much shame do you have around these labels, you know? Or, you know, how when we're children, we're in our country, we're controlled by our parents in terms of what we wear and what we eat and how we look and how much oil we put in our hair, and if we open the hair or put braids, you know, or for men, if you can open the first button of your shirt or not, or if you can wear the cool t-shirt or not. So for the longest time, you know that you were kind of uncool and dirty, you know, in your group, and people were making fun of you, and now you might have all the autonomy and you know how to groom, but at the time neither did you have allowance or nor did you know better. So there's a lot of scars from that time. So this is usually the cool uncool thing, is a adolescent scar. It's around that time you felt very dejected, very rejected, very undesired, you know, around that time. So if you are struggling with something like that, you're much older but you're struggling still, you feel like, you know, I'm kind of uncool, then you might want to go back to that phase and fix it there. If you're this person right now, maybe look at these parts of yourself where you feel, I'm like, the parts of yourself that you don't like, and you feel like I need to keep masking this part by doing something else, like having a cool partner, or going to my college on an expensive car, or I don't know, treating all your friends all the time, you know,
Yeah.
because then you can sort of buy friends, or doing drugs, or you know, just whatever, messing
I
with the
relate
teacher.
with it completely because I got into all these occult sciences very young, like in 10th class. So I would have to had to curb that side of mine for like I think good 10 to 12 years because at that time, even if we were traveling to the mountains, my interest would be let's go do meditation on the hills, which nobody wanted to do. So I mean, not on the relationship side, thankfully, but definitely in terms of friendships and other relationships that you have in your life. I do feel like I had to keep that side of me very masked because you know nobody would
Yeah,
get it. And like when we
yeah,
were going to hills, the interests were a little different, that are more hilly and not like meditation and finding yourself. So like you know, then you just had to either be participative of that or just like be okay with what's happening. While my mind was always wandering into wanting to do different things. So I think yeah, it's very important, like you said, that not only first you're aware, but you figure a way of you know bringing that side out. Have I got
yeah.
that right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, one
Also
question that I
finding
have.
people of your tribe. Just one
Yeah,
thing to, like you said, you know, like finding your people, that eventually helps, obviously, always. That you do need, especially like when you're young, you need people who can share your taste with you and who
correct,
you can feel sane with, you know.
correct, correct.
So if there are any parents here watching our live, then you can play a big role in this, you know, that when you're still taking care of your children, when they're still young, you can help them, pair them with people of their interests, children of their interests, so that they can grow up feeling just normal and sane and accepted and belonged for the interests that they have or the personality that they have.
Yeah, this is actually very interesting because I think I've been very blessed. The moment a part of my this aspect was actually getting curbed a lot, a friend came into my life and she was somebody who really understood these things because she also had interest in that. So it was very easy, like to have at least one outlet where I can go all about universe and everything, and somebody's like listening patiently and also like intently and adding on. So you feel like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, thank God, like this part of me is still retained. Okay, one
Yeah.
question that we have here is in the early 20s, there is also fear about not finding someone at all and being alone your whole life. So, how to combat this?
Hmm. So again, when you're anxiously attached, you have this fear and you have this notion about yourself that I'm not good enough. There's something fundamentally wrong with me. I'm fundamentally unlovable. So it's not about finding or not finding people. It's a view of ourself that I am not love worthy. You know, that even if I uh, do whatever I do, because I'm so unlovable, I will not have right people come my way. These people, so this is the self view. The world view is that even if I get close or attached to someone, they will have a stronger reason to leave me or to not be with me or to run away from me. Right? So, this is the fear that you need to address. You need to look at it as a fear and tell yourself that I'm feeling this way because of my childhood wounds that I'm carrying. You know, that this is that okay. So, one more thing is that this is an existential truth that we were all born in a solitary body and we will die alone. Life of a human or any species for that matter is ultimately alone. Okay. But because we also have a very strong need for companionship, we keep looking for company at all times. So it's a very interesting balance. So we work actually on two levels here, that how can you be comfortable
Your own
with
self.
your solitude as well, while also understanding that this is not a compensation for not having anyone in
Yeah,
your life,
yeah.
you know. So both of these things can coexist, that you can be comfortable in your skin with yourself in your solitude and then also have the need to be with someone. So maybe if you have this fear, ask your question on these two levels, that if you think that you will never find anyone or you will end up alone, where is this fear coming from? Like, out of all the things, why do you have this fear that I will
Yeah.
not find anyone? Only in the age of social media and dating apps and friendship apps, and where the world is so much more connected to one another, where is this fear coming from? You know, itni badi dunya mein, so many people to meet. Why do you think you will not find anyone? So, one, know that it is definitely a perceived fear. It's not the reality of your life.
Yeah.
Now, if it is perceived, it's coming from past experiences, lived experiences, where perhaps you were left time and again, and now you've started to lose faith uh, in the fact that people will actually last with you. So, that's the direction that you need to work in.
Okay, then the second question that I get a lot from all these adolescents who are in their early 20s, that they want to know everything about the future. So the person that they are dating right now, they want to know इसी से शादी होगी या नहीं होगी, how much will they love me, will I settle well into their family? And even though when they themselves tell me sometimes that they're not having any plans of getting married like within that period, like they might get married like near 28 or something, but at the same time they have a lot of questions and they just want to know their future immediately. So what would you like to say to that?
Hmm. Right. So I think it's not just the young people, it's literally all of us. We hate the fact that life is packaged in this uncertainty. You know,
Yeah.
we hate it. We as humans are so bad with living with uncertainty. We want answers and we want predictability and we want to know at all times what's going to happen next, which is also something that comes from our childhood. When we grow up in dysfunctional families, and one or both of our parents are very unpredictable. Very unpredictably, they were loving, and very unpredictably, they were just suddenly unavailable and nowhere to be seen. So, what starts to happen to you is that for you, unpredictability becomes a threat. You know,
Mm.
I don't know if I can rely on my parent, and as a child, it is a fundamental source of survival for you. You need to be comfortably relying on your parent. And if you didn't have that going on for you, you're going to find unpredictability and uncertainty very challenging, very scary. Some people are also very thrilled by it. They are open and curious enough to whatever life has to offer. And these are the people who are mostly coming from secure households, where they are securely attached. The parents were securely attached. So they can find the happiness or joy in the adventure of life, and just life being so mysterious. Because that is another existential fact of life, that you can't predict it. You don't know what's going to happen next. And it's very easy to say that just accept the fact that such is life, and stop finding answers for it. But it's definitely when you are so scared of what will that unpredictability bring, because of your childhood, you thought that if there's uncertainty, unpredictability, it means something bad is going to happen. If I don't know today if I'll find a partner or not, the answer is I will not find a partner. If there's actually uncertainty, तो ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है ना, tomorrow only you find someone. But we won't think of that because mind wants to think of the worst case scenarios, because that's how we work when we're on fight or flight. We want to keep ourselves prepared for the worst because survival mechanism, right? I want to ensure my survival, physical or emotional. So I need to be prepared for the worst so that when that happens to me, I'm ready. So this person, whoever asked right now, what if I'm left alone all my life? What are they essentially doing?
Yeah.
They have a part of their brain that is convinced, part of their mind that is convinced I'm going to be alone. Now they're doing their preparation. कि जब वो वक्त आएगा, how to prepare. So that's why they're on this live, they're asking this question. I'm sure they're looking for answers everywhere else also, because they think that this is something that's going to happen to them. They better are prepared. What is overthinking? Overthinking is also another attempt to have control over life, or to create the sense of illusion that I am prepared for the worst case scenario. But even if you think about something 10 times, you can never be prepared. Like, let's say you keep thinking about your parents dying. That's a very fundamental fear that all children have. Especially like when you are old and you know that your parents are older, and you know that death is a reality. So you keep playing that scenario in your head. I had so many clients who told me, I just like to be prepared. And I was like, there's no amount of thinking that you can do that can prepare you for, something like that, for the loss of a parent. Nothing can prepare you. We cannot prepare ourselves in our head. We cannot find answers for the uncertainty or unpredictability of life in our head. What we actually need to do is see that why is unpredictability and uncertainty so scary, and start to build little tolerance for the uncertainty and unpredictability.
Exactly.
Kaise? I'm going to go to this festival tomorrow. I don't know what it's like. So I will look for it everywhere on social media to have a picture in my head कि वो कैसा दिखाई देगा. Or I'll plan the entire day. I'll first meet my friend, I'll wear this outfit, and then I'll go like over planning. This is a part of controlling the unpredictability. So maybe let go a little bit sometimes. Maybe not plan. Maybe just show up. Maybe not decide your outfit and wake up in the morning and figure out. Maybe not for have a plan for the entire day, and see how that goes. So challenge yourself little here and there wherever you can. Start with things that are more tolerable. That's how you'll make room for more uncertainty and unpredictability in life.
Thanks. I would also like to add on here something spiritually. Like in spirituality, also, you would see a lot of times the readings would say be more playful or be more light-hearted. So that is a way of you understanding. Or sometimes maybe those who have taken private readings would know, I will just tell you that the cards are not answering or they are giving conflicting answers. Because if you're somebody whose food for thought comes more from spirituality, then you should understand that as your soul comes into this world, it is also supposed to go through certain lessons. And you knowing everything, your need to know everything to control it would still bring you the lesson. And you would still go through the lesson that you're supposed to go through. So while in your mind, you may feel in that moment prepared, ki, oh, now I know when it will happen, I'd be prepared. But no, whatever emotions, whatever feelings, or whatever pitfalls you'd go through, you'd still go through that. Instead of, if you don't go through that, then your lesson would not be complete. So it's important that you actually not try to figure out your future or not try to know so much about your future, because knowing the future is also need to control the future or to be planned for the future. So the less you do that, the more happier life you would anyway lead. from a spiritual point of view, because you're simply just observing things that are happening in your life, and what you're doing is you're allowing the lessons to come to you. You're maintaining an equanimous approach, and that is when you're just passing through this journey called life. So while that's a little deep, but yes, that is something that is also important if you're somebody who believes in working with your subtle body. Okay, so Praneet, now we move on to the next part, which is people who are already in a setup of arranged marriages, or they are looking to find a person via arranged marriages. So the first question that I often get here is, what advice or what sort of questions should they be asking, considering the dynamics of the family involved? Because when there's family involved, then they always have this question that what is the kind of questions can they be asking or not. And to this, I also have another question, that is that do things like looks, or like you mentioned previously, the superficial traits, do they really matter when it comes to an arranged marriage setup and system?
I think I'll ask the second question. No one can for you or not.
Oh, sorry, I just got paused. Sorry. What did you say, Praneet?
That's okay. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. So yeah, no one can decide that for you, whether or not looks should matter to you or not, whether or not that should be a parameter for you or not. But one thing that you can do is that you can see where are your parameters coming from. Who is deciding this for you, or how are you deciding this for yourself? So when it comes to answering the first question, that what to ask when it's an arranged marriage setup, you don't know the person, you don't know how things are going to be. So whether or not you'll end up with this person depends on the questions you ask, and what you find out about them. So it's a big deal. First of all, understanding that it's a big deal and taking this process very seriously, if at all you are in an arranged setup. Then what to ask. Okay, so I can't give you a set of questions, but I'll tell you how to design your set of questions, right? In order to know that when I meet Kamya, what do I ask her to know her better? First, I need to know what is important for me to have, right? If I'm meeting you for an interview of, let's say, selecting you as my flatmate, okay? What will I do? I'll meet you and I won't be like, hey, how many promotions did you get at work? None of that matters to me as if I'm choosing you as my flatmate, right? It's not relevant. Or when was the last time you got a haircut? Doesn't matter to me, The questions that would matter to me is, how do you look at cleanliness? What's your social life like? Do you like to keep to yourself, or are you more of a, engaging person? Now, I'll ask these questions if cleanliness is important to me, if social life or not having one is important to me. How am I deciding these questions if I'm choosing a flatmate? I am catering to what my needs are, and according to that, I'm designing my questions and I'm asking you. So I know that if I'm going out there choosing a flatmate, the first thing I need to know is, what are my needs when I'm living with someone? You're choosing a life partner. What do you want in a life partner? And again, it's not about how tall or short or fair or unfair or whatever they are, right? Because that's, at the end of the day, not what you're going to live with. Their tallness or shortness is not going to make your life any easier or better, right? It's surely going to make it look prettier or less prettier on Instagram. But we all know how much effect does that have on our happiness and our personal life. So what are your needs from a partner? When you're going out there, the kind of childhood that you've had, the way that you were brought up, what are some of the things that have become very important to you? You have to look back at your story, you have to look back at where you're coming from and then decide this. So if I grew up in a household where I was constantly dismissed, my emotions were dismissed, I was not heard, and it's a big trigger for me, I surely know that this is one non-negotiable for me, that I'd like to be with a partner who makes me feel heard, or if I was controlled all my life in my relationship, I know that I would want to have an equal seat on the table in my relationship, you know. If my career is very important for me, so this is one, is what are my emotional needs. That's one criteria. So understand what your emotional needs are, recognize that. So a lot of us don't know कि emotional needs क्या होता है. Like we know physical needs क्या होता है, you know. So emotional needs are wanting to feel seen, wanting to feel heard, wanting that I can authentically express myself with someone. I can just be myself with someone, right? Wanting to feel respected, wanting to feel equal with someone, feeling like my achievements being celebrated, you know. Or if something is not, if I'm not okay, you come and you help me. uh, I want you to let me be. For some people it'll be that. For some people it'll be like, I want you to come and baby me a little bit. That is my language, you know. So that's one. What are your emotional needs that you're looking at getting fulfilled? And then whatever your way of inquiry would be, right? Second is, what are your values? Very important to uh, ask that. Let's say that you're a person for who honesty is very important, but the person that you're meeting is very private. You know, they may not be dishonest, but they like to keep to themselves and they like to not tell a lot to you. Now that would lead to insecurity in you, for sure, right? You want stability in your life because you had a lot of unpredictability going on, but this person likes to be a little on the edge. So that's a value you're not sharing, you know. For example, you're very religious and it's very important for you, you know. So understanding that how much of a negotiable or non-negotiable that is for the other person. So knowing, third is knowing your negotiables and non-negotiables, right? Fourth is your goals as a couple. What are your goals? What are the kind of things that you're looking at sharing with the partner, you know? Do we want to get together and have kids? I want to have kid, you don't want to have kid. There is no middle ground. How can you have half a kid, right? There's no middle ground. You either have kids or you don't have kids. Or we want to build something together. We want to work on a purpose together. That, you know, I've reached this point in my life that I feel I'm good. Now I want someone to come and share this with me and take this to the next level. So is your partner on the same level? You know, you want someone who you can help your family get settled with. You know, so that's your goal. So if your partner would be okay with that. So understanding all these four things: your emotional needs, your negotiables, non-negotiables, your values, and your goals, and communicating that. But before you communicate that, you try to gauge that from the other person, because a lot of times जब हम खुद ही अपना पूरा चिट्ठा खोल के निकाल के बता देते हैं, the other person a lot of times just wants to comply and just show you that I'm the right fix for you. One very important side note: when we go to meet someone in a arranged setup, we're so preoccupied with, especially if you're anxiously attached, we're so preoccupied with the fact that, are they liking me? Am I coming across as a desirable partner for them? You know, am I putting a good impression on them? How are they responding to what I'm saying? We get so preoccupied by that हम भूल जाते हैं that we just don't have to get approved, but we also need to approve this person as a partner. So very important that you have that arrow tilted towards yourself also, and you yourself are giving an equal seat to yourself in the on the table.
Makes sense. That's perfect. Okay, now the next question that I have is how to know if the person is right in a short meeting. Because you know, usually like there would be like one or two meetings and like shorter duration, and also many a times the parents are meeting and the children are not even getting a lot of alone time to meet. Like that still happens in today's age and time. So how do you know if the person is right, especially in a short meeting?
I think the answer to this question is going to be the shortest. You cannot know. In a short period of time, you cannot know a person. So let's not bullshit each other by making some kind of checklist here. Do whatever you can to buy more time. Hang out with this person as much as you can. I'll even say that don't just stay with their answers, because words are not what people are, actions are what people are. So get a chance to see if there are any discrepancies, to verify and see that the answers that they gave you, that they match with their actions. Buy more time. That's it. There's no way to understand someone in a short period of time.
Okay, yeah, that makes very practical and absolute sense. Okay, now we move to a very interesting part. That is all the tarot card questions I have from clients who are males. So the first question that I have in regards to this is, and these are again questions that I've clubbed together, noticing a pattern or similarities in regards to the questions that I get. The first is that they are too much in love with a person and yet they do not show it properly via their behavior or via their actions. And they keep acting distant and busy, and my cards also sometimes show that they do perceive the woman in their life in a very stereotypical manner, like she's needy, or like usko to bura lagega hi, ya ladkiyan to ladti hi hain. They would like actually tell me these things also. And when the girl leaves, either she gets married or she decides to break up, then, sorry for the language, but they become Ranbir Kapoor from Rockstar. So then they totally become like, everything is gone for a toss, their world has just come shattered down. And also, then many a times the card would also show that they're also moving woman to woman, just for physical needs or doing a lot more of that. So, what is something that you have to add on to this for this particular type of people or
I
people who go
love
through it?
this question. I love this question because, these are such relatable questions. I'm sure people from my page also were watching us right now. So many of them ask me these questions. These are very practical problems that come up in therapy also a lot.
Wow,
So,
interesting.
okay. Yeah. So I guess this is when we introduce our last attachment style. So this is that attachment style, this back and forth. Okay. So this is called the disorganized attachment style. As the name suggests, that it's disorganized. They have the characteristics of both avoidant and anxious. They're a nice mix of both. Okay. Which means that, as we know, the worldview of anxiously attached is I'm scared of the distance. Avoidantly attached, I'm scared of closeness. Disorganizedly attached, I'm scared of distance and closeness. So these are the people who love intimacy and togetherness in their life. They live for this kind of stuff. And it's the same thing that they're terribly scared of in their life. Right? So something that you want, but you're also very scared of, you keep going towards it and running away from it, going towards it, running away from it.
God,
So
that's
this
quite
kind of a back and forth, yeah, it's very exhaustive, right?
for the
So
person also who's going through this.
yes, absolutely. For the person who's going through this, the person that they're going through this with, very exhaustive for both of them. So much of pull and push, so much of confusion that these people, first of all, themselves don't know how much are they in love, you know. So they're kind of unaware of that. They keep telling themselves it's not half as bad. So, okay, here's what happens. Because they keep wanting intimacy, they enjoy all the easy aspects of intimacy, which is talking, just, sweet talking with each other, checking in on each other, going out on dates, being nice to each other, talking about really emotional stuff in life, opening up, being vulnerable. So jab tak this phase is going on, both the partners in the relationship are very happy. The guy is happy and the girl is happy that things are going so well. So we're talking about this guy who is disorganizedly attached, right? Who's also called anxious avoidant attachment style, right? So what they do is that for as long as all the easy parts of intimacy they're enjoying, they're really happy about it, right? At some point, when they'll feel like this is too much, and they say things like that in therapy. I don't know if that happens with you, but in therapy they come up with like, "Oh, ab zyada ho gaya tha." This is a little too much. Like, can we be a little calculative? Or this is too dramatic and things like that. At some point, they will get very overwhelmed by that intimacy. And then they'd run away so fast. Something would just shut down in them. And they'd start acting like that avoidant person. Overnight, their behavior would change. So this is what happens when people get ghosted, right? A lot of times, this is what happens. Like, for 10 days, you're talking so well and it's amazing, and then suddenly the person's gone. Disorganizedly attached. It's not that they were faking it or they didn't enjoy the intimacy. They really enjoyed it, but they also are very scared of the same intimacy that they were very.
I'm curious, Praneet, where does this come from? Like you spoke about other attachment styles having some dynamics in regards to childhood. Where does this come from?
This comes from having a parent who was your safe space and your biggest threat at the same time.
Okay. Oh, so the conflict
Right?
kind of in the childhood only, like with
Yes.
okay.
So, like I said, that this parent was very unpredictable. They were the parent. that you could really rely upon. You shared a very good, strong bond with them, but at the same time, they were the same parent you were very scared of, or you always shied away from, or you always wanted to just show them your good side. So, you must have heard people talking about their parents like, yeah, I mean, he was very strict. My father was very strict and he was very controlling and everything, but I loved him. Like he would always give me a lot of
Okay.
attention. He'd
Yeah, yeah.
always listen to me.
A very
He'd
recent
always
is
be
coming to my mind. Yeah.
right. So usually this parent is someone that you were very close to, but you were also really smothered by them. you know or this parent was very inconsistently available for you. When they're there for you, you are feeling all love and everything, and then suddenly they're not the parent that you could rely upon. So maybe they were the parent who had a lot going on for them. They suddenly had to just disappear taking care of something in their life, or they were a parent who was sick, who, when they were normal, they were really there for you. But then when they got sick, then you had to be the caretaker for them. You
Oh.
know? So you never really know if I can lean on or if I can't. You had a sweet spot about them as a child, but you were also always walking on the eggshells that any day this would go away, this would be taken away from me. So basically, if you look closely, a disorganized person is actually walking on the eggshells. They're scared of the intimacy because at some point when it feels overwhelming, they feel like it's not going to work out. I'm getting too attached. What if I get hurt? So before I get rejected, I will reject you.
That's just so sad.
Right? Yeah. But when you reject me or you go away from me, then I need to grab you and I need to get you back. Because somewhere I also know that when you are constantly running away from me and I'm running behind you, that way I'm having little, how to say, like little glances of intimacy, but I never have to settle for full intimacy. So that's like a sweet spot to be in. When you like intimacy and you're also scared of it, you always would enjoy being in the gray area. So
Got
these
it.
kind of people will have a lot of gray area relationships.
Got
They'll
it.
always have some woman that they're talking to or some man that they're talking to,
On the side.
and on the side, and they're having like a lot of like nice intimate time with them, but at the same time they would never like give full commitment, or they choose people like these जिनके साथ थोड़ा सा ऐसे कुछ confusion रहता है. They'll keep choosing people who they know they will go mad about being with them, but they know that they are in a situation where they will never fully commit also.
Tell me something, because this is what I have noticed in my readings. Many a time, such people usually also have somebody on the side. So they could be having like a main relationship, but they could also be like texting with other people, if not necessarily like be in a relationship with other people or dating other people, like off and on. So again, this also comes into disorganized attachment.
No. So this comes in the avoidantly attached. I'll tell you one more thing about avoidantly attached people, that they have a trait of always having an exit door ready.
Oh.
Okay? Because they're avoidant, because they're so repulsed by the idea of being close, they keep fearing that I'll be smothered or I'll lose myself, that they need to have an exit door ready. Something to sabotage this relationship with. Right?
Okay.
So they'll always like have something going on the side in case they have to leave at whatever point. Not just to be with someone else, but also like, oh, I cheated on you now. This is not going to work out.
Okay.
So very on a very unconscious, subtle level, there is always like this going on.
Like they're ready to sabotage us also when they need to like make a smooth exit. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the second question that I get a lot from guys, or something that I have also noticed in my readings, is that some get too attached to a girl, and who may have a lot of red flags, and they would also tell me categorically in the readings that मुझे भी नहीं पता मैं क्यों इतना ज़्यादा प्यार में हो गया हूँ. मुझे पता है, like the girl is not like replying back to me, she doesn't care enough or in the same way for me, but they are unable to make the right judgment and call it off. The need to feel loved for them is so strong, and they would also tell me, I'm a very emotional man, and like love is very important to me. One thing also here that I would like to point out is that my cards always show mostly a flawed relationship with parents back in childhood. Mostly it is the father that they actually have a slight flawed relationship with. So this is just my observation also on this. But yes, again, your thoughts.
Yes, that's very spot on. So men who know that, the girl has a lot of red flags, this is not going to work out. I can clearly see that it's just not working out, but they're still staying put. They have a very strong fear. So these are the people who I'd encourage to think about, what will happen if I let go of this person? What is your fear? You know? You see, if these are the people who also have some father issues, so basically they did not have the love, the kind of love that they wanted as a child, they didn't have that come their way. Also, culturally, we know that men sort of get young boys relatively get less love than young girls because
Of
of
course,
just this
patriarchy has
idea.
affected men too as well. That's so true. And
Absolutely.
culturally, especially in
Absolutely.
India, like that's spot on.
Yeah. So we just won't give more physical affection to we won't give as much physical affection to boys, or if even if they do, they are toughened up or brutalized by their peer group. Ke, oh, stop kissing me, so whatever, I'm not a girl, or they won't cry, and all these messages that we get. So because of that, either the child is rejecting the physical affection, or the parent is not giving as much physical affection, thinking that this is a guy, he needs to be tough, you know and that's just about physical affection, but also emotional availability. Do you want to talk about something? Are you going through something? Did it affect you when you lost that match? Are you struggling with something in your schoolwork, right? This is happening with all the children, regardless of their gender. So when you're growing up with so much neglect, no attention on you whatsoever, you have all your hopes tied to the woman who's going to walk into your life and would make you feel good about yourself. So now that a person is finally here, while you have this idea that I'm not love worthy, someone who's finally come along, you don't want to let go. You don't want to lose that last hope in your head. It's not the last hope, but the last hope that you think of having love in your life. But at this point, I think these people need to ask themselves that, sure, a relationship is supposed to bring love, but is it bringing me love? Sure, I have these needs that I want to be met, but is it getting met here? And for as long as I'm staying in this relationship, my needs are not getting met with this person. And they're also not getting met by the person that they could have potentially gotten met by had I put myself out there and chosen someone more carefully and with more awareness. I'm also robbing myself of that opportunity by staying in the with the person that I'm not happy with.
I think, like you said initially, first the truth hits, and then it takes a little while to be able to accept that, okay, yes, I can like get somebody better, and I'm like choosing to settle for less.
Yeah. So, like I said, that it's very important. While I always am a big advocate of the fact that when you get out of a relationship, you work on yourself. But I also at the same, I don't think it's a this or that situation. It's this and that, right? I also feel that explore. Talk to a lot of different kind of people. Don't be so quick to settle down. That's the thing with anxiously attached people. They quickly want to find someone, quickly settle down, quickly figure life out. Talk to multiple people, see what kinds of people out there, see what kind of dynamic you enjoy, and at some point you'll come across it someone who's a good listener, who's more empathetic, who's more there, and you'll see what that experience is like, and you really need to experience that to know that there are better things out there for you.
Yeah, just a random thought that's coming to my mind. Also, many a times, people they have a notion about themselves in their current moment and now. But as they start exploring more outside of the relationship dynamics, just exploring themselves more, they also change. And then sometimes, they simply regret the person that they chose like 2 years back or 1 year back.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Yeah.
doesn't like fit into my now. It's because you never allowed yourself enough time only to sit and explore yourself more, even if it's as simple as exploring your hobbies more, which maybe is expanding your horizons and your mindset and perceptions.
That's such a beautiful thought. I love that. Just to add to one thing to that, that the thing is that we as humans can't figure out ourselves in isolation. We need to be interacting with either other human
Yeah.
beings or other things or activities out there. We can't figure out who we are in vacuum. So you're very right. As we go and interact with more people, do more or newer things, we learn, discover these parts of ourselves that we didn't even know existed.
That's very true. Okay, so coming on to the second question in regards to that I get from guys, the third one actually. So some I've noticed that they were in a very serious relationship. Okay, like I think 1 or 2 serious relationships in their life years ago, and this is a question I get consistently. So maybe this relationship was in college or when they early on started like working, etc. But then the relationship, they broke off the relationship, or the girl broke off the relationship, and now even after 5-6 years, they are still in a, again, excuse my language, they are in a channa mereya phase. That I'm still in love with that person, and they keep on advocating that प्यार सिर्फ एक बार होता है, प्यार सिर्फ एक बार होता है, कोई मिलता ही नहीं हमें हमारे टाइप का, etc. And what I've also actually noticed is that these men are not even actually very fond of finding somebody for their physical needs. So they are like truly detached in sense कि बस वो एक थी जिससे मुझे हुआ था प्यार. उसके बाद maybe they had a little flings or whatever, but like that is not their focus, and their only focus is कि बस प्यार एक बार होता है और वो हो गया है मुझे. So what would you like to tell them?
Right. So I feel, see, one, this is really served to us through media and through culture, that you only fall in love once. हम एक बार प्यार करते, एक बार शादी करते, एक बार whatever that dialogue is, right? Yeah. So there is that. Then I think that this notion that you only find love once is also masked. Like underneath this is also the same fear that I will not find anyone again. So if I found someone, let's make it work, right? I think this is also our third factor, also our social conditioning of being with one person all our life, right?
Yeah.
Like we have to understand this, that relationships are evolving and the definition of monogamy is changing. Earlier it was one person for life, now it's one person at a time. That's monogamy now.
Yeah.
Right? Esther Perel says that. It's so funny how she says that, but I think it's so true.
Yeah.
Right? That right now you feel this person works for me, you're with them, and of course you hope that it lasts, but if it doesn't, it doesn't, and then you go looking for what works for you better. So I guess
sorry, just one point of interjection, Praneet. I think you're very spot on in regards to the conditioning. Now that I'm reflecting back on the people who asked me these questions and other people in my personal network who carry a similar mindset, I think, yeah, it definitely has a lot to do with conditioning also. Because if I simply observe right now in the hindsight, I do feel they are a bit of traditionalists. Like they follow very old school laws, not just of love, in regards to a lot of other aspects, even the way they carry their friendships. So yeah, okay, conditioning is something that is playing a very important role here.
Yeah, and like you said, you can tell. You will see what kind of family they're coming from, and they'll hold a lot of pride in being very like having these morals and values and everything.
Yeah, in their head they are being very idealistic.
Yes. Right. So yeah, this is one of the major factors that we're living with. So you see, the thing is, we keep talking about the conditioning that women have. The pativrata, and I'll live for him, I'll die for him. But we rarely ever talk about the conditioning that men are also living with, right? Like you rightly mentioned, that patriarchy has not just brutalized or affected women, it has also brutalized men, and it has also gotten them stuck to the idea of one man, one woman. You be together, you keep her happy. If that didn't work, there was something that you didn't do right, or you were not man enough. So there's a lot of noise around that as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's basically just opening yourself to the ideas that relationships are evolving. This is our reality today. When you get into a relationship, you hope that it lasts, but the end goal of the relationship is not bigger than the actual quality of the relationship. Right? It's just like that I've decided. It's kind of like, okay, I wake up every morning and I've decided that for the improvement of my health, I need to go and cycle for 5 kilometers, for example. Okay. So I get up and I'm like, okay, cycling for 5 kilometers every day because my muscles feel like very, jammed. Okay. So I'm cycling for 5 kilometers every day, feeling really good, feeling strong. And today it's really hot. And I'm just not able to cycle for 5 kilometers. So many factors. I'm wearing, these clothes, air is not passing, it's hotter, my temperature of body is rising up, and I just wasn't able to. But like, no, 5 kilometers. Now I've lost the reason behind that goal, and I started to focus on the 5 kilometers instead of remembering that I was doing it for my body.
Yeah.
So the very reason for which I'm doing it, you faint and you fall down and you have to be taken to the hospital, put on drips and whatnot. While taking care of your body started suffering. because you lost focus on what your goal actually was. That's what we do in
Yeah, I think
relationships.
you mentioned it you put it very nicely when you say that, it's also the quality of the relationship and not the end goal or the journey.
Yeah,
Like you can
yeah,
simply enjoy the quality of the relationship because, like you also said, that as a human, it's our innate need to be loved and like to love somebody. So why not like
absolutely.
just express that, and instead of getting caught into this web of ek tarfa pyar and like pyar ek bar
the
hota hai.
number the number that we're getting stuck with one person or this many years or all my life. So it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality.
Interesting.
That's the shift we need.
Okay, damn interesting. Okay, so now I have just last two questions left, and the first question that I have is actually coming from a lot of people who are either in their late 20s or early 30s, or some of them even in their late 30s, who are unable to find anybody. So what happens is that they are
Who are
using
unable to.
who are unable to find the right person. So they are using dating apps. They have even tried arranged marriages. They have gone through that whole ebb and flow of like being in a hurt relationship or relationships not working out, etc., etc. Also the phase where they were confused that, okay, if I really want to date, if I want to settle, etc. And now that they feel that, okay, no, they really want to settle, they're just unable to find anybody. And while they are very aware and they know what is it that they want, but yes, they just constantly feel the right person is just not showing themselves up, and they do so while already dating people or trying to figure out, like, who would be like the right match for them.
Again, I guess the idea is that we're waiting for the right person. There's no right or wrong person. People are just how they are. It's about the dynamic that you share with them. So if you're walking around with a strict checklist, that's the problem. You need to just be open, vulnerable, and okay, one more thing, very important. We keep saying, but I'm putting myself out there. What's the problem? That's all a girl can do. I hear so many of my female clients say
Yeah.
that. And when we talk further, we realize that what looks like putting yourself out there is actually not putting yourself out there. Just because you're on dating apps or you're talking to multiple people or you're going on various dates, it doesn't mean that you're open. You can meet 10 people in a day and you can still not be putting yourself out there. Because putting yourself out there is not what it looks like on the outside. It's not that, oh, I see you seeing other people. It's not that. It's about which parts of you are seeing this person. Just the decorated parts of you, just the parts of you that say nothing about you, just the parts of you that are these armors that you wear with anyone who you don't want to find out about you. Or are these authentic parts of you? Are you actually even bringing yourself to those dates? Are you actually bringing yourself to those conversations, or you're trying to be someone else? Because as long as you're trying to be someone else, you would only know the bond of that person with this some person who you think is you. But it's only when you bring to the table is when you'd know if you and that person are really clicking. Let's simplify that. For example, I come from a family where I had a lot of anxiety growing up. I'm anxiously attached, okay? And I'm going out there, I'm putting myself out there, I'm looking for people, I'm just not finding anyone, right? Now, I have my heart broken a lot of times in the past. My relationships have not worked. So now I need to make sure that the person I choose is the perfect one because I'm just not ready to take risk again. Okay? So first of all, know that you are choosing a partner out of a place of fear. Accept that. While you're going out there meeting new people, you're terribly scared. And a part of you is like, what if this is the right person? If you look closely, you'd see that part. What if this works out? So many people are hell bent on finding flaws in the new person, every new person that they meet. If you remember that character from Friends, Chandler, he's avoidantly attached.
Yeah.
Okay? So, for many seasons, or maybe in one season, he keeps meeting all these new girls and he keeps going like, oh, she has a big nose, she has a
Yeah.
funny voice, she has this, she has that,
Yeah.
And yet he dated Janice.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Yeah.
Janice and him keep having that pull and push, right?
Yeah.
She's anxiously attached. he is avoidant, and they keep coming back to each other, and keep look. At some point, he goes like, "Oh, this is a sign. Why do we keep finding each other?"
Yeah, this is
Right?
an
That
amazing analogy. Yeah.
yeah. So you are very you are fitting just right because of the anxieties that you carry, right? So these people are always going out with an armor, and that's not putting yourself out there. It's about going out there armorless, because you're not walking into a battlefield, for God's sake. That's
Got
where
it.
you need armor, right?
You should be
But
comfortable
your
being vulnerable also, like showcasing whatever parts of you, because you are comfortable with yourself at that level.
correct. Now I'm going to say something which should be the major takeaway from our talk,
Yeah.
and that is that if you are choosing, I read it somewhere a couple of days back, and it really stayed with me, that if you're choosing or looking for a partner from not from a place of wholeness, like you said, that you should be comfortable in your skin. For that, you need to do your work. Now, you
Yeah.
might think that you've done your work,
Yeah.
but if you're not able to bring your whole self to the table, I'm sorry, but you're living with a lot of shields.
One point of
So if
intersection here, a lot of people actually don't even recognize the need to do their own work. They just feel, अरे when I'm going and finding somebody for my life, what do I need to fix in me? वो तो मैं जैसा हूँ, जैसी हूँ, वही तो होता है ना, दो लोगों का मिलना, like I am flawed, they are
yeah,
flawed, we come together. It's again a
yes,
very
yes,
Bollywoodized version of the whole, dynamic of what a relationship is supposed to be in real life outside of movies, where they don't show a lot
yeah,
of things and simply put the end and happy ending or whatever. Yeah, sorry.
absolutely. No one shows what happens after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I had read is that if you're choosing your partner not from a place of wholeness, then it's your wounds that are doing the choosing. You know, that if you are not sure of who you are, and if you're not bringing that to the table, then your fears are doing the choosing or the rejecting.
Yeah.
You know, it's always your fears that are doing that, or your insecurities, or your painful experiences from the past, to being cheated upon or left or abandoned or rejected. You've not fully healed from that.
Praneet, what would
And
you say to people who also keep on saying that, no, I'm very aware. I know what I need, and that's why, I'm rejecting people. Like, usually, uh, if I were in your shoes and I was saying this to somebody like a client of mine or whoever, the immediate defense would be, but no, I exactly know what I want. And they would like hand out a list of things, ऐसे नहीं हुआ, वैसे नहीं हुआ, then how can I like not accept it? So, what would you like
correct.
to tell to these people?
Okay, so first of all, I'd talk to these people in a little more depth, know their story, find out discrepancies in that, and show it to them. So I need to know a little more to answer this question. But just one more thing here, that we think that if we're rejecting people, it's a good sign that we are aware, because we know what we don't want.
Yeah.
What we always miss out on, that another important sign that you are aware and you've healed, is that you will also choose the right people. सिर्फ गलत लोगों का रिजेक्शन नहीं होगा, सही लोगों का चूज करना भी होगा.
Correct.
That is full circle. So if that's not happening, then it's very clear that you're operating from a place of wound or fear or some insecurity. And that insecurity is so deep rooted, it's so strong, that you have a very thick, strong shield around you. And it's going to take a lot of courage and a lot of being ready to accept that and to take the wall down. Right?
You had
So
also
these
mentioned something in our private chats about that, many a times such people know a lot of things intellectually, but they've not done the emotional work. So is that also something that's relevant here, and would you like to
absolutely.
elaborate on
Oh,
that?
absolutely, absolutely. I just made a reel on that today, and I was hoping that when I put it out, people won't kill me for this, because I guess it was like an attack,
Yeah.
because I knew if I'd be that person, I would feel attacked. But yeah, just that so many times we are, um, what's the word? What's that word? Anyway, so many times I feel that our intellectual awareness confuses us, right? And we think just because we know the facts right, just because we know the reality of the situation right, it doesn't mean that we have sunk that in emotionally as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we say things like, yeah, I know it was a toxic relationship. Now that it's gone, of course, like, why would I be sad? No, but it's still a loss. Loss is a loss, and you can
Yeah.
still feel bad.
Yeah.
And even though you knew that the person was bad, and they used you. But if you still, since your childhood, had the narrative that everyone leaves me, then that is still a pain point for you.
This is so
So
true. I had a client who came to me, and right after the breakup, she was very ready to just channelize all her focus into work. And then the tarot card showed a lot of like subconscious level pe healing ka need. Ki no, this is the reason why you're experiencing these roadblocks. And unfortunately and slightly sadly, they could not even grasp that because that part had been so masqueraded by the intellectual understanding of it कि नहीं ऐसे होता है ब्रेकअप होता है मूव ऑन होता है फिर हम ये करते हैं फिर हम वो
yeah,
करते हैं.
I'm so glad you brought this up. I'll take another minute on this. So these parts are called our protectors. Okay. I follow this school of thought that's called internal family system. So in internal family system, it says that we have basically two parts, largely like broadly categorized. So we have our wounded parts, the parts that carry the pain, जिनके साथ पूरा trauma हुआ है, and we have the protective parts. So these parts they swore to keep these parts protected. Okay. So now these protectors are always going to be very, very strong. So protectors are always going to be strict ideologies, compulsive obsessive behaviors, workaholics, very organized people, very finicky people, all this, or very like strong sides of ourselves, like very spiritual, very self-loving, very feminist, whatever ideology that we feel very strongly about, these are usually, they act as our protective parts. And they, again, that reel that I was telling you about that I posted, exactly these things I'm talking about, that basically how these things, these ideologies are supposed to help us know ourselves better, but these very ideologies become our blind spots. They start to act as a blind spot so that we don't get, we nothing penetrates underneath this strong shield, So then what happens is that you'll see that these people will hold a lot of pride about, like you said, this person was all into her work, so one more sign that you are only intellectually healed and not emotionally is that you will have some very compulsive behaviors that you won't be flexible about at all. Very finicky behavior, very particular about some things, and वो चीज touch से मस नहीं हो सकती. वो होगा तो then you're going to lose your mind. So what's happening is that your entire focus is on keeping these things together, and you're so preoccupied with that you're not getting to the real deal underneath that. So your real pain and insecurity is underneath that.
Wow, this just makes me think that a lot of people, I think we are just so in the view of the fact that what we know about us at a maybe just superficial or like from the top view is like the only thing that we take as what we know about ourselves. And there's just so much of deep diving that needs to be done into us.
Yeah.
Okay, so just last two questions, Praneet, and now I do have a hard stop in next 10 minutes. I've got a tarot card reading that I need to do. So the first question that's there in the chat only that a lot of people are asking about is, okay, no,
also
first
read the stuff in the chat. No, I can't see the comments at all. If there's
don't worry, I've taken screenshots, so if you're okay with that, we'll just post their answers later. But I have two questions. First, that I'm a little concerned about, which I actually saw in the chat. Now, because you've already mentioned the attachment style, I don't want anybody to be thinking, अरे अब हमें intellectually ये पता है, अब हम avoidant वाले को fix कर देंगे क्योंकि हम anxious हैं, या हम avoidant हैं, so now now I know, but now I will not show it like this or whatever. So I don't want basically anybody who's in the chat learning.
I love that you brought it up.
Yeah, and I don't want anybody who's online learning any sneaky behavior, okay? Because at least like the people who follow me on my page, they just know that this is totally unappreciated, okay? This is not gonna, I'm not gonna let this pass. So, word of advice, a word of caution, or your thoughts to that I don't want any attachment style fixing any other attachment style, okay? So whatever it is, Praneet, the floor is yours.
Yes. So another fact that we all want to know is that when you know your attachment style, you can heal from that. But because you know the other person's attachment style, you can't fix them.
Okay.
Like we just unraveled that an attachment style is something that is with you since your childhood, right? You are no Sonpari that you'd walk into someone's life and you'd change them overnight with your love, especially when you're coming from the intention of making it work for yourself.
Yeah. Sorry, that's just not how it works. Interject. Guys, this is not a sun sign. Like you read sun signs of your partners on a daily basis, just as your own little behavior. So I think what she's also trying to say is that now just reading up more on the attachment style or trying to figure that and then trying to fix the person, that's not the route. That should be even a plan of action in your mind. Yeah, Praneet, go on.
Yes, absolutely. The plan of action is that when we know our own attachment style better and when we heal from that, we're all going towards the fourth attachment style, which I didn't talk about, that is the secure attachment style. Okay? That we're all leaning, or the ultimate goal is that we all work on ourselves and go towards secure attachment style, which means that when you relate to another, imagine what it would be like when you're with another person, you're not insecure. You're not constantly walking on eggshells. You're not scared that they will leave you. How beautiful would that be?
Yeah.
Or that when you're talking to someone, you're not scared that they will consume you all over, that they will give you your space, that you'll have a sweet balance of having your own space and a good mix of being with someone also. That you can actually feel loved, respected, and all of these things. And it's possible for everyone. It requires healing, is what it does. It doesn't require the right person to come along. Because we're not suffering because of wrong people in our life. We're suffering because of how we grew up, because of our traumas from childhood. So it's a very important shift that we need here. So if we understand that the other person is not the problem, we won't focus on fixing the person because they're not the problem.
Yeah.
When we know that where we're coming from and our trauma is the problem, that's where we'll focus on. So we're all working towards secure attachment style. I encourage all of you to go and read what it looks like, secure attachment style. That's why I keep saying meet lots of people and then explore, meet, like you'll see when you're with a secure person, you won't have to calculate all the time. You won't have to constantly be in your head and preoccupied with reading the signs. Everything will be out there. Everything will be spoken about very clearly. Open communication. You won't be like, should I call? Should I not call? Am I calling too much? Am I calling too little? Or, oh my God, this person is, so needy. They're just clinging to me. None of that.
You just feel very easy.
Very seen, very safe. You'll give them space, they'll give you space. You'll give them love when you need them, they'll give it to you. Very reciprocative, very understanding, communicating about issues. That said, there are still going to be conflicts because conflicts are an inevitable part of every relationship, but you'd know how to navigate through it better because both of you are willing to, most importantly. And even if you don't know how to navigate better, you will learn together as a couple.
Got it.
So the goal is to become securely attached ourselves and to also pair with people or find people who are securely attached.
So my last question actually gets answered by this, and also the other aspect which you mentioned that you urge everybody to watch This Is Us. So my last question was actually that how do we undo our attachment style and move towards a secured attachment style? So I think one takeaway that I am taking from this is that I'm going to start watching This Is Us. And the second is definitely, like you said, that all of us can simply read more about it. Is there anything else you would also like to just add on here, considering I do have a hard stop at 10?
Yes. Yes. So read about it, find out what your attachment style is, and look at your relationship dynamic from the lens of that attachment style. Come back, talk to yourself about it after a date or something. See if it's the same pattern that I'm repeating. Tell yourself when you are feeling unheard with a person. Tell yourself, admit it when you felt disrespected. Don't be so scared to admit that. Don't keep thinking if I'll admit it, I'll have to let go and I know I'm not finding another person again. In order to know that you will keep finding people in your life, do whatever you need to do in terms of putting yourself out there, speaking to people. And honestly, this doesn't just have to be restricted to your romantic partners. Also keep meeting in terms of friends, meeting people in terms of friends or just some acquaintances. Just meet like a bigger world out there. We have a very small, like a fishbowl, keep meeting our kind of people only with similar patterns and everything.
I would also put it a little analytically by saying that, you're simply just collecting more data. Like, you're just going out and meeting more people, collecting more data for your own life and for your own self. And whatever like you feel fits into who you are, as you are also working on yourself, then bingo, that's the perfect fit.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much for this, Praneet. Like really, I think it was the most insightful session that even I've held on my page. And I think you've given all of us a lot of work to do, but definitely a lot of interesting knowledge nuggets also that I'm sure a lot of the people were also unaware of. I'm sure a lot of the people must not have even heard of things like attachment styles, and maybe they have never even pondered that how their childhood is actually affecting a lot of their relationships in there now, and especially their romantic relationships. So thank you so very much for that. Thanks so much for taking out this time. And I know, like, literally, I took your time by an hour extra. So thank you so much for that.
No, I think thank you so much for having me here. And I myself thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm doing a collaboration after a really long time.
Wow.
I was so excited for this, and I guess rightly so. This was definitely very fruitful. I'm feeling so stimulated right now.
Yay.
So, yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. And also, since you mentioned about the support group, whatever information you can share with me in a text message, do that. When I'll be posting this live, I would like to mention that information there as well. For anybody who wants to like seek support of Praneet and her team, like I think it would be a great idea if you're struggling with issues in your relationship.
Perfect.
All right. Bye, Praneet. Thanks so much for this.
Okay, bye bye. Thank you everyone for joining.